Shambharam Ganapataye Namaha. Today, I want to discuss the topic Prakriti, material nature. This is a topic what I want to discuss. Prayer. Anantah kapilo bhanuhu kamadah sarvato mukhaha jayo vishalo varadaha sarvadhatu nishechita. The material world is not a fit place for living entities because they are spiritually one with the Lord and in the material world. The Lord wants all living entities who are His parts and parcels to live with Him in the transcendental world, and for Him enlightening conditioned souls in the material world. All the Vedas and revealed scriptures are there expressly to recall the conditioned souls back home, back to Godhead. It's accepted in the Vedas and in Bhagavad-gita also that the Supreme Lord creates by looking over the Prakriti. The Lord glanced over the Prakriti or nature and impregnated it with atomic individual souls, jivatmas. Because Prakriti is dull and inert, it can't actually be the cause of the material world. Rather, the Lord mercifully infuses the dull, inert material nature with His energy. As a result, the Prakriti becomes the secondary cause, just as iron becomes the red hot by the energy as fire. Energy of fire. In this way, the material nature is always working under the direction of the Lord, producing all moving and unmoving beings. All varieties of living entities, the aquatics, plants, trees, insects, birds, animals, human beings and demigods, come from the original source. Prakriti is the mother and the Supreme Personality of Godhead is the father. Material nature has no power to create without the power of Lord, just as Prakriti or woman cannot produce a child without the power of Lord. Even a woman cannot produce a child without the connection of a Purusha or a man. The Purusha impregnates and the Prakriti delivers. The Purusha, after creating innumerable universes in the Mahatattva, entered in each of them as the second Purusha, Garbhodaka Shayi Vishnu. When he saw that within the universe there was only darkness and space, without a resting place, he filled half of the universe with water from his own perspiration and laid himself down on the same water. This water is called Garbhodaka. Then from his navel, the stem of the lotus flower sprouted, and on the flower petals, the birth of Brahma, or the master engineer of the universal plan, took place. Brahma became the engineer of the universe, and the Lord Himself took charge of the maintenance of the universe as Vishnu. Brahma was generated from Rajoguna of Prakriti, or the mode of passion in nature, and Vishnu became the Lord of the mode of goodness. Vishnu, being transcendental to all models or all modes, is always aloof from materialistic affection. This has already been explained. From Brahma, there is Ridra, who is in charge of the mode of ignorance or darkness. He destroys the whole creation by the will of the Lord. Therefore, all three, namely Brahma, Vishnu, Maheshwara, are incarnation of the Garbhodakashayi Vishnu. From Brahma, the outer demigods like Daksha, Marichi, Manu and many others become incarnated to generate living entities within the universe. This Garbhodakashayi Vishnu is glorified in the Vedas, in the hymns of Garbhastuti, which begin with the description of Lord as having thousands of heads, etc. In the 7th chapter of Bhagavad-gita, Lord Krishna says that all created beings have their origin in two natures, the material and the spiritual, and that he is the source of both natures. Prakriti, material nature, is actually threefold. Nature consists of superior energy called para, and inferior energy apara, and marginal energy. The superior energy manifests the spiritual realm. The inferior energy manifests this material world. And the marginal energy, also spiritual by constitution, comprises the infinitesimal spark of consciousness known as jivas, that is, all living beings. When the jivas choose to associate with matter and identify with the inferior energy, they manipulate it for sense enjoyment, and thus the entire world functions. Material nature consists 8 elements. Number 1, earth, water, fire, air, sky, mind, intelligence, and false ego. These are known as Krishna's separated material energies. Another classification of the elements of material world includes the 5 gross elements: earth, water, sky, fire, and air. The 3 subtle elements: mind, intelligence, and falsehood. The 10 senses: 5 working: hands, legs, stomach, rectum, and genitals, and 5 for acquiring knowledge: Jnanendriyas, previously Karmendriyas. What are the Jnanendriyas? Eyes, ears, nose, tongue, and skin. The 5 sense objects: form, taste, smell, sound, and touch, Pancha Tanmatra, and consciousness. These 24 elements constitute the field of activity for the living entities. The material body of the jiva is also called the field of activity. It is a miniature universe comprised of the 24 universal elements. Though covered by gross and subtle material elements, the soul retains in a dormant state its individuality as the eternal servitor of the Lord. The pure soul in the material world desires to exploit material nature, and the false ego is the identification of the self as separate from Krishna. Material nature is endowed with the three qualities or modes, mean gunas: goodness, passion, and ignorance. When these three qualities combine and permutates, they create many varieties of consciousness, just as the combinations of the primary colors red, yellow, and blue create many colors. Conditioned by the three modes, the living entity adheres to a particular type of work is determining by the modes of material nature. Generally, the mode of goodness condition one to happiness, passion to fruition action, and ignorance to madness. All three modes bind one to the cycle of repeated births and deaths. This divine energy of mind, consisting of the three modes of material nature, is difficult to overcome. Krishna says, "But those who have surrendered unto me can easily cross beyond it. Sarvadharman parityajya mamekam sharanam vraja, aham tvam sarvapapebhyo mokshayishyami ma suchaha." Two types of Prakriti. One, the material nature, that is called Jada Prakriti. Two, the living entity, Jiva Prakriti. According to Bhagavad-gita, both the living entity as well as material nature are explained as Prakriti, or the energy of the Lord. The difference is that one of the two, the Jiva Prakriti, is conscious, whereas the other one, Jada Prakriti, is unconscious and composed of inert matter. Therefore, the Jiva Prakriti is called the superior energy of the Lord because of the Jiva, or living entity, has consciousness which is similar to the Lord's. However, one should not wrongly conclude that the limited consciousness of living entities is equal to all pervading supreme consciousness of the Lord. Now let us discuss of Jada Prakriti, that means material nature. It is the inferior energy of the Supreme Lord because it is composed of inert matter and analyzed in Sankhya to be of 24 material elements. This inferior and superior energies is clearly mentioned in Bhagavad-gita. This inferior energy comprised of earth, water, fire, air, sky, mind, intelligence, and false ego. Altogether, these 8 elements comprise my separated material energies. It is clearly mentioned that the living entities belong to the superior nature of the Supreme Lord. The inferior energy is matter manifested in different gross and subtle elements, namely earth, water, fire, sky, air, mind, intelligence, and false ego. Both forms of material nature, namely gross and subtle, are products of the inferior energy. The living entities, however, who are exploiting these inferior energies for different purposes are the superior energy of the Supreme Lord, and it is due to this energy that the entire material world functions. The cosmic manifestation has no power to act unless it is moved by the superior energy, the living entity. Therefore, everything that takes place in this material creation is due to the combination of the superior energy with the inferior nature or spirit and matter. Material nature is the separated energy of the Lord. And similarly, the living entities are also the energy of the Supreme Lord, but they are not separated. They are eternally related to the Lord as his spiritual part and parcels. Material nature itself is constituted by three qualities: the mode of goodness, the mode of passion, the mode of ignorance. Above these modes, there is eternal time by a combination of these modes of nature under the control and purview of eternal time. There are activities which are called karma. These activities are being carried out from these being immemorial, and we are suffering or enjoying the fruits of our activities. For example, suppose I am a sufferer. Similarly, in every field of life, we enjoy the results of our work, or we suffer the results. This is called karma. Karma Siddhanta, doctrine of karma. Ishvara, Jiva, Prakriti, Kala and Karma are all explained in Bhagavad-gita. Out of these five, the Lord, the living entities, material nature and time are eternal. The manifestation of Prakriti may be temporary, but it is not false. Some philosophers say that the manifestation of material nature is false. But according to the philosophy of Bhagavad-gita, or according to the philosophy of the Vaishnavas, this is not so. The manifestation of the world is not accepted as false. It is accepted as real but temporary. It is likened unto a cloud which moves across the sky, or the coming of the rainy season, which nourishes grains. As soon as the rainy season is over, and as soon as the cloud goes away, all the crops which were nourished by the rain dry up. Similarly, this material manifestation takes place at a certain interval, stays for a while and disappears. Such are the workings of Prakriti, but this cycle is working eternally. Therefore, Prakriti is eternal, it is not false. The Lord refers to this as my Prakriti. This material nature is separated energy of the Supreme Lord. And similarly, the living entities are also energy to the Supreme Lord. Although they are not separated but eternally related. So the Lord, the living entity, material nature and time are all interested and are all eternal. However, the other item, karma, is not eternal. The effects of karma may be very old indeed. We are suffering or enjoying the results of our activities from time immemorial. But we can change the results of our karma or our activity, and this change depends on the perfection of our knowledge, jnana. We are engaged in various activities. Undoubtedly, we do not know what sort of activities we should adopt to gain relief from the actions and reactions of all these activities, but this is also explained in Bhagavad-gita. Chapter 14 of Bhagavad-gita has described the essential characteristics of the material nature and its modes. It has been explained as to how the modes, which are the primary constituents of the material nature, impact all beings and how one can free himself from their influence. It has been stated that the total material existence is the material nature of Ishvara, the Supreme Lord. All life comes into being when Lord casts the seed of his consciousness, nature, into this material substance. In other words, all beings are born from the union of Prakriti and Purusha, the two natures of Ishvara. Whereas the material nature is the origin of the entire material world, which includes both mind and the matter. The consciousness nature is the source of embodied soul. These two foundational factors of life have also been called field and the knower of the field, as both Prakriti and Purusha belong to Ishvara. He is the mother and father of the universe. The material nature comprises three gunas, namely Sattva guna, Rajo guna and Tamo guna. The Sanskrit word guna, which literally means a rope, has loosely been translated as a mode. Similarly, Sattva, Rajas and Tamas are often translated as goodness, passion and ignorance respectively. By implication, the mode of goodness, the mode of passion and the mode of ignorance are the ropes which bind the undifferentiated consciousness to the material world. When the immortal soul comes into contact with matter, it gets conditioned by the modes. Forgetting its own free nature, it identifies itself with these modes. As a result, a vast spectrum of the fragments of the conditioned consciousness, the embodied souls, is produced. Attracted by the material world, the embodied soul indulges in egoistic satisfaction through the use of senses, mind and intelligence. In other words, the modes bind the embodied soul, the self, It is the power of these modes which gets the imperishable soul caught up in the cycle of birth, death, and rebirth. These modes, subtle tendencies of the material nature, influence every aspect of human behavior. Of these, the mode of goodness, being pure, is flawless and illuminating. It binds the soul by attachment to happiness and the knowledge. This mode creates an atmosphere of peace, serenity, and harmony. The mode of passion is of the nature of attraction, springing from cravings. It binds the soul through attachment to action. This mode gives rise to insatiable desire for material things, resulting in a feeling of dissatisfaction and frustration. And the mode of ignorance, which deludes everyone, is born of dullness. It binds the soul through negligence, indolence, and sleep. This mode results in a state of distress. From goodness arises wisdom, from passion, greed, and from ignorance arises negligence. Those in the mode of goodness, having obtained some spiritual wisdom, are not so much affected by the worldly miseries. Those in the mode of passion are ambitious people who always hanker after material enjoyments and social recognition. Though they work for and may even achieve many worldly successes, they still remain disillusioned. They can never get long-lasting satisfaction. Why? Those in the mode of ignorance develop an attitude of indifference to everything. They suffer misery because they do not consider the consequence of their actions. Since the material nature consists of these three modes, they are the basis of all substances. They are present in varying degrees in all human beings. In any problem, one or the other mode dominates, depending upon which of the mode is more prominent in him. One is said to be sattvic, rajasic, or a tamasic person. The unique combination of the modes in anyone's personality determines his overall behavior in day-to-day life. No one in the material world can defy the modes. Not only the present life, the modes influence even the qualities of birth in the next life. No one, the individual soul, can attain freedom until he rises above these modes. Even the sattva guna, which is illuminated by buddhi, the intelligence, does not rid him of the ego sense. The mode of goodness also creates desire, though for noble causes only. Therefore, even a sattvic person is not free, as he is attached to happiness and a desire for doing good to others. The soul is also an expansion of the energy of God. The soul is a fragment of the Jiva Shakti, means soul energy of God. While material nature is an insentient energy, the Jiva Shakti is a sentient energy. It is divine and intransmittable. It remains unchanged through different lifetimes and the different stages of each lifetime. The 6 stages through which the body possesses in one lifetime are asti, existence in the womb, jayate, birth, vardhate, growth, viparinamate, procreation, apakshiyate, diminution, vinashyati, death. These changes in the body are brought about by material energy called prakriti or maya. Shri Kantai Kalyananade Nidedram Shri Venkatnivasaya Srinivasaya Mangalam Mangalasasana Prairmadacharya Progamaihi Sarvaisya Purvairacharya Satkrutāyastu Mangalam.